Ladies and gentlemen, it may be winter for all of us, but the warm arms of Austin, Texas have got us covered. It is the opening round of the Simrigs Sprint Series here at the Circuit of the Americas. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nick Amon, and I want to welcome you back to the Octane Online Racing broadcast. And joining me in the booth, someone who I have had many a seasons with, and has seen some on-track action as well, Mr. Kevin Parody.
Oh, thank you very much. It is very good to be back up here in a seat doing something I do well, which is talking. The seasons of driving were great fun, but to be fair, it's a lot more fun sitting up here watching these guys do it well.
Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about spinning the car. You just work on, making sure that you make the proper calls when someone spins their car.
Yes, pointing out someone spun on the pace lap instead of doing it yourself is infinitely preferable way to spend a Thursday evening.
I'd agree with that. I would say that, a little bit of a nice change of pace. But 31 drivers here on the grid, and I've honestly forgotten how to pull up the split times. I'm sure someone will help me out on that. But no, we've got a lot to talk about, and not a lot of time to do it before we get into the race itself. Like I said, 31 drivers. I think there's 42 overall in the attendance sheet. A lot of names returning: Clifford, Lovrink, Landry, Portis, Keogh. I mean, we see these guys in the top 5. It seemed like every single week, every single season, and they're doing just that. Carpenter, we've got Frizza, Rasco, Hasser, Lanham. Shirley's making another appearance. Same with Bandera, Fernandez, and a few ways down, Darren Wicks, another familiar name here in North America. Jaden Hernandez, Hunter Page, a personal favorite of mine simply because of the boat and because of the history I have with this driver here in terms of teamwork. But we certainly have a lot of new drivers here. Jakub, just forgot how to say it.
Tchaikovsky.
There we go.
Yeah.
I remembered. One of the debutants here in North America. Freitas as well. We've got Adair Augusto from Brazil coming out of pits right now. He's sitting in P9 at the moment. We also have Stapleton joining us in a livery that I actually use, but for the Lamborghini. So that's actually really cool to see, because the collision livery looks really good, but I drive safe, don't worry, I promise.
I probably could have used that livery the last couple of seasons. But the thing I noticed is we got some the regulars, we got some new folks, we got some people coming back after some time off. But what I'm really noticing is the number of red tags on the rookie slash amateur class. It is full this season, and that shows me that these are the people that are just, a lot of them are just joining, they're just getting started, or they're just getting started with OOR, and they want to learn. So this is us growing the sport, and that to me is a great way to start a season.
Yep, a lot of them, and that should be sorted out as the season goes on. Mitch Suddendorf, one of the new drivers, same with Xavier Eaton, doing a nice little slide there, does save it. So there's Eaton's first on-camera appearance, and he's going to do it with a little bit of style, I gotta say. I respect that. Jacob Haller, another one in the Aston Martin, very good choice in the field. Charlie Haxel in the Bimmer. Maybe we'll see some blinkers, probably won't, but I always keep my hopes up. And I assume the brother Ryan Haxel as well in the Porsche, so 2 German manufacturers. And then we've got Jake Battle looking to do a little bit of that tonight. We'll see how that plays out. And that is pretty much it. But we have got a lot, like I said, to go over. So we are at COTA this week, then it's Silverstone, then we have a break, then it's off to Kyalami, one of my personal favorites, and then Monza the week after. We'll have another break before we hit up Paul Ricard, Barcelona, and then we'll have a driver vote for the last race of the season. Big news, though, coming from ACC. We did have the 1.9.6 update very recently, just actually I think yesterday, with the release of the GT2 pack. So that actually mixes things up. We run an LFM BOP to keep these cars in line, and because of that, obviously LFM's BOP is all messed up. Our BOP, excuse me, is all messed up. So we're not going to be running it for this round, and pretty much until further notice, until either A, we figure something out, or B, we let LFM do all the work, and they'll tell us what's going down. No disrespect, I'm just being honest. Like, I'd do the same thing. I would just let them. I'd let them just do the work. But the GT2 pack has 6 of the cars. So we have the KTM Expo, which looks like a bit like a McLaren, which I kind of like. The Porsche 935, the Maserati MC20. A lot of people I saw on Reddit were actually excited for that, and I can see why. The Mercedes AMG, the Audi R8 LMS making another appearance in another classification here, and then the Porsche 911 GT2 RS Club Sport Evo. That's a mouthful. And then, of course, we have a new circuit in the Red Bull Ring, and I'm certain that there's another circuit on the horizon, but, well, that's going to be another story for another day. I haven't had enough time in the GT2s. It was funny, it's actually $17.99 on the Steam store, but I could get it for 10% off to complete my bundle. Kevin, have you had a chance to run around the GT2s yet, or not?
If I'm honest, no, but I've watched a lot of other people do it, which honestly is probably a better way to get a feel for them. One thing I noticed with this DLC is people are loving these cars. Some of past DLCs, you know, the GT4s came out and everybody went, okay, that's interesting for about 3 days.
Yep.
And then you sort of never saw it again. So far, it looks like the GT2s are interesting enough, different enough, and fun enough to keep people's interest. And it's been, gosh, almost a week.
Well, I think that we will be seeing a lot of GT2s servers popping up. I mean, don't get me wrong, GT3 is, you know, it's great. Hey, I figured out what button to hit. GT3s are great, you know, obviously this is what we run, but, you know, I feel like some people have been saying in the community, you know, they'd like a change, they'd like to see something different, and this new DLC is going to do just that. I don't know how OOR is going to work it into our schedule. I know we do have the Bathurst race coming up next month, and I think a couple weeks time actually, so maybe we'll see some GT2 class there. I'd like to see all the GTs 2 to 4 showing up, but only time will tell. And then on top of the release of the GT2 pack, of course, there are 4 GT2 focused special events going on right now. We have the Maserati Monza 15-minute hot stint, a Mercedes Red Bull Ring, or sorry, Paul Ricard hot lap, and then the Porsche 991 at Valencia with a 20-minute hot stint, and then the KTM at the Red Bull Ring. It's a hot lap, so if you're looking for a little bit of extra challenge, then that might be something you go towards. I'm not good enough for that, so I just sort of leave it on the side, and I just go into the open lobbies, and then wonder why I go into the open lobbies time and time again.
That's so you get your weekly dose of swearing in.
Oh, I do that plenty of ways, don't you worry.
We are closing down. What do we have? A minute and a half left here in qualifying. First race of the season, first qualifying of the season. The butterflies are bigger than usual, I think, for some of our drivers, especially those that maybe haven't competed with us before. So this is where I think the nerves still aren't done as somebody drives off, as I say it. Very great timing. But it's about to get real again for these guys after a fairly significant break.
Yeah, we did have that little bit of a mini season between the end of season 15 and season 16. I didn't do any of that. I took after the end of season 15. I went to Mullock. I'm like, yo, I'm taking a break until season 16. I know we have that mini series. I'm not doing that. That's someone else's problem. But I will say it is good to be back. I haven't done a lot of commentating really at all since then. I mean, I know I have my personal streams and I had a weekly knockout. I would play in a different game, but obviously I'm taking time off of that to actually make maps for it. But nerves are gonna have to be quelled here rather quickly. 30 seconds left in qualifying, and we still have 5 drivers who haven't set a time: Martinez, Haxel, Battle, Page, and Sanchez. So we'll see how that plays out. And one thing we should take note of is the debutant Eder Augusto on pole position, 2:04.75, just set that, and that is just under a quarter of a second ahead of this man, Jonathan Clifford, a very familiar name here in North America.
That is putting your stamp on the evening already. That you start running ahead of names like Clifford, Loverink, Freitas, Portis. Yeah, you have accomplished a thing. Accomplishment unlocked, I believe, is the term I was looking for.
Yep, there you go. Getting with it.
Especially for what is technically, I'm sorry, I didn't see their rating. Are they Are they a prorated driver at this point?
Augusto is
Certainly,
silver,
they
so
will be
not
by
rated yet.
next week.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, you make a mark like that immediately, you're getting bumped straight up. Chupskowski is on an improvement right now. It's a couple of tenths. This, I don't think will get him ahead of Stapleton, but it'll at least close the gap a little bit. Maybe, just show a little bit more pace. You never know. Things can happen, especially here at COTA. We do have, I believe that was Loverink going into the pit lane in the Ferrari, but up to the line, and it's 21st actually, so skipping a couple of spots there. And in the background is your current pole sitter. It is not going to be an improvement. It's 400ths behind, so that's very good in terms of what you're able to bring to the table. Kenneth Portis back in the Honda. Can you name a more iconic duo? The BOP not being present has made some changes. Kevin, I think you said something about the Honda becoming a bit more meta before the broadcast.
It's from what I've seen in chat, I can't drive it before or after the update, but from what I've seen in chat, it is got at least some of its teeth back, and it is once again to be feared and near the top of the runners. But with someone who drives it that long and that many hours, I think they were going to do well regardless of whether it's BOP'd or not. I personally like this at least this one race where we get to see these cars sort of raw. No BOP, no attempt made to say, make this quicker and that quicker. I like the idea of cars for tracks, and having over the season, having fast tracks, slow tracks, medium tracks, and having to deal with that. So for me, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to see these cars with no attempt to make them even.
Yeah, it almost harkens back to earlier forms of this game where you saw, everybody's running this car or that car, they're trying this build, that build. So I'm ready to see how these drivers handle it, and it is time for something that we have not done in a while. And if you're a regular to the broadcast, you know exactly what this is. If you're not, well, get ready. You're about to do my favorite thing, besides actually commentating the race, and that's going to be our grid walk as we get ready to start the race. I believe I was the first to do this, and then everyone else, and when I say everyone else, I literally just mean AP, because I did EU as well, followed suit. Not saying I'm complaining, but it's good to see that. But on pole, Adair Augusto, number 27 in the Porsche. Nice looking livery there. Jonathan Clifford, 999, still with that, is lining up second best. Then it's Loverink and Freitas, and I'm going to apologize. Some of these liveries did not load. The livery sync tool we use is a little bit weird. That's okay. Michael Landry rounds out top 5. There's Andrew Wilson, number 6, the Golf McLaren. I mean, come on, it looks beautiful. Kenneth Portis, the Honda, in 7th position. Somewhere that car has not been in a very long time, it feels like. He's going to have Ben Keogh right beside him, and then it's Carpenter and Frizza back in a very familiar livery as he lines up 10th. Eduardo Sanchez in the, similarly colored Weeb machine, but not this time around. They'll have Brian Rasco, of course, rocking the best livery for this state. And then it's Larry Lanham and Dave Hasser right behind him. Going to be Darren Wicks back in the Audi with the Tron-inspired OR livery, looking beautiful over there. Joel Banderas, 69. It's the pink McLaren looking to make some moves there down in position 16. Hunter Page in the boat lines up 17th. Dan Fernandez on that 9th row of the grid. Austin Shirley and Jacob Tchaikovsky makes it into the top 20. Then it's Andrew Graves, Ondanique Stapleton, Jake Battle, Mitch Sundorf, Jaden Hernandez, Ryan Haxel getting the better of his brother Charlie, who's all the way down in the back there. And then it's gonna, that'll be 30th, but Haxel's 26th, Eaton's 27th. Haller is going to be 28th there in the Porsche on your right side. And then that last BMW, Edson Martinez, he has stayed loyal to the German manufacturer. And like I said, it is going to be Charlie Haxel right there at the back of the grid lining up. Or no, sorry, that's not Haxel. That is one of the other drivers. That is Austin Orr, one of the new drivers here in North America. But we are rumbling, which means 30 seconds has passed, and of course the drivers are going to be taking off. for this formation lap. Again, it is the first race of the season. Nerves are high. And while we get these drivers out on track, of course, we're going to give a quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 16 of the Sprint Series. We have had these guys with us for several seasons now, and I gotta say, I am overjoyed to have them back again out of Melbourne, Australia, one of the largest sim racing suppliers in the land down under. They are going to be servicing you Australia, New Zealand. You guys are all set, but if you're like Kevin, myself, or anybody else living outside those borders, if you send them an email, they'd be more than happy to do some business with you. They got everything you need, from frames to wheels to pedals, accessories. If you can think about it, they've probably got it for you. So check out their store, see what they've got going on. And of course, if you are an OR Patreon member, you guys are going to be getting 10% off your purchases. So do take advantage of that. This hobby is not cheap by any means, and this just seems like it's getting more expensive every single day. So again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series, and we hope to keep them on board for many, many more seasons to come. But folks, we are getting ready here. Drivers getting around the grid, and pre-race predictions from you, Kevin. What do you think's going to happen?
From what I've seen of the other races that were earlier on in the Asia Pacific, and from what I heard about the EU race, I'm actually expecting, and I'll say it, a calm and controlled first couple of laps. I know it's the first race of the season. I know it's this track, and it's got some potential places to have wreckage everywhere. But honestly, it feels like they're going to get the first couple of laps in and then start to race.
Well, that's pretty solid. Of course, we have to remember the powers we have, but I feel like the circuit will produce something good. I don't think we'll be seeing too much in terms of chaos. These drivers do have an hour on the clock in 2 mandatory stops ahead of them, so that is going to open up in a pit window 5 minutes into the race, and then it'll close 5 minutes before the end. All those drivers got to do, just get a new fresh set of tires on. So if you're any of these drivers who happen to be watching the stream right now, if you have the chance, cycle through that MFD. Make sure you guys have a new set of tires on deck after your first pit strategy, so that way you can, make sure that you're all set to go. Make sure that circle is white. That'll give you the indication, but it looks like we are starting to get 2x2. And if history is anything to go off of, that means the race start is just moments away. And I'm excited. I'm ready for this.
They're closing up. They know what they're doing at the front. 1 car length, no more between those top 6 or 8 at the moment. And yeah, they're just, you can see them. You can almost smell it. They're ready to go.
Oh yeah, everybody's been waiting. A lot of these guys, like we talked about, it's been a long off season. They've been spending the last, I'd say maybe week or so, really putting time into ACC, really getting the cars ready to go. And for some, well, it's their first outing, and they've got a lot of work to do and a lot of potential here, and they do not want to squander it. But Augusto is going to lead us through that final corner as we get on to the front stretch. And for the first time this season, folks, it's been a long time since I have said it, and it's going to be at a circuit that I'm very happy to say it at. But as we trundle on up more and more, we wait, the tension rises. These drivers are waiting for the green light, getting a little bit antsy there. And it's green, green, green here at Austin, Texas. We go up the hill into turn number 1, almost 3 wide there. Augusto will be taking it, overshoots the apex, though. That is immediately going to put Jonathan Clifford and Freitas. It's Lovering taking the lead here. So the 2 Lamborghinis bolting immediately. Landry right now is in a great position. Right behind him is going to be Wilson. There's the Aston Martin there of Keo getting a couple of positions at the start of this race. He's going to be very happy about that as we get on board here with the McLaren of Austin Carpenter. He's very familiar to these upper positions, so it's a good bit of homely welcome for him as we head through the S's here, reminiscent of Silverstone's. And now we head to the heavy braking zone before the long backstretch. Of course, if this was F1, we'd have those DRS flaps itching to go open. We'd have to wait a couple laps side by side there in the background. Andrew Wilson comes out ahead of that one, and here comes the train of cars chugging down the back straight. There's Portis right behind, and you can see everyone else following suit. But so far, despite the misstep from your pole sitter, it's been a very clean start.
They were 4 wide a ways back in the first corner, and I don't see anyone parked on the other side of the road, so I think we did it. I'll bet as of right now, some of them are probably drawing their first breath of the race, but we find ourselves behind my favorite livery of all time, Dave Hasser. Thank you for coming back. Just, if nothing, I mean, you're a great driver, you're a wonderful person, but that livery cracks me up every damn time I see it.
It's good. You gotta commend the creativity of some of these guys. You know, some drivers, you know, they do either make their own or they commission someone for it, or others sort of like the collision livery of Stapleton. that's right from race department. I'm not gonna knock him for that. I wrote the same thing on the Lambo. Okay. But it's damn good. And I mean, how could we forget your beautiful BMW livery? I mean, come on, Kevin.
Oh, the tortoise, yeah, one of my favorite.
God,
the wireframe was good fun.
That was
yes. I've been lucky enough to run a lot of great liveries, and even been honored enough to have people ask me to make them for them. So that was quite a moment. In fact, I think there might even be one of them in this race. But never mind. Well, maybe I show no favoritism.
No, of course not. Of course not. But after the first lap, it's Lovrink ahead of Clifford, Augusto, Landry, Freitas, your top 5. Keo, Wilson, Portis, Frizza, Rasco. That's going to be up to 10th. And actually, as I say that, Andrew Wilson has spun somewhere. This is in the S's. So side by side with Keo. I'm not certain what happened. He was doing fine. Oh, little bit of contact, and everybody's just going to slip by. And that is the worst place you could ever stop the car. If you had to run into anything, I think that's the last thing you want to be. Parked it in there right smooth. And now from top 7 down to 22nd. So things have already gone awry. And there is, I believe that's Brian Rasco going wide. Just up ahead, you can see the BMW of Hernandez. Just when they started to breathe, then they relaxed, and some of them relaxed just a little too much. But we've got some big movers. The regular crew at the front, but the depth of field is what I'm seeing. We've got great drivers' names we recognize in the bottom half of the top 10. Ones we're usually seeing at the front. And quick tip of the cap to Larry Lanham as well. Has got his Pro-Am self up there in 9th place. Well done. Number 9 in 9th position. We got a lot of really good battles, actually. This pretty much mid-pack is looking very solid. The front runners are starting to pull away a little bit. But really, right now, the one battle we need to join is this man, Mr. Jake Battle, going side by side with excuse me. I believe that's actually Eaton, who has lost the position he has, and just behind them, it's the Aston Martin of Haller. And the other Porsche seems to be these German manufacturers sitting at the back right now, all battling each other. But it is Tchaikovsky, who has lost a bit of time. You can see Haller looking to go down the inside into turn number 1, uphill. I don't even know if there's any camber at that point. As he gets to the top, there's going to be a bump as they come together, but maintaining a positive direction of these cars. Tchaikovsky has to get off the gas there for just a moment, but it will be Haller taking over Orr's position, and it's a very tricky bit of work here through the S's. These guys struggling a little bit. The pit window has opened. We have a yellow out on circuit. That's the 548 of Austin Shirley, who's gone off.
It's that S section is hard enough to get through clean when you're by yourself. We've got more contact and pirouetting.
That is.
Hold those brakes, please. Hold those brakes.
That was Shirley going into the rear left of Darren Wicks, who was able to get away pretty much before everyone else. So he got very lucky. Shirley is down 27th position. So while we sort of give these drivers a minute to kind of get themselves sorted out, let's look now. We got the pit window open. What's the strategy going to be? Because normally if it's an hour race with one pit stop. You see a lot of people splitting it in half, but what do you think this split's going to be? Do you think it's going to be 20 minutes? Do you think we'll see maybe a 15 and then a 25 over there? You know, what are you expecting?
The chat is full of how much tire wear there is on this track. So I'm honestly expecting 20 just because that minimizes the time you're burning the skins off. But it has been a universal, I was going to say complaint, but let's say comment, all this week that it is very, very hard on tires. It's hard to control the temperature. It's hard to control the wear. And of course, as we all know, once the wear starts on these tires, it gets worse. It doesn't get better.
No, I did see that a lot. I was checking the channels before the broadcast, and that was the one thing people were really complaining about was the tire wear here at COTA. And it looks like Austin Carpenter has gone immediately for the pit stop. Maybe a very extreme undercut, but if it's gonna work, then he might as well take it. So we'll keep an eye on him. We're gonna join Larry Lanham here, as right behind him does sit Sanchez. This is the battle for P10, and then just behind you can see the trio of Page, Hasser, and Bandera. They're all keeping each other honest and keeping each other company, I think, is the big part, of course, of racing. We all want to see that. I know Page has been kind of off recently. I think kind of doing other things. Oh, Sanchez off.
Ooh.
I thought he went for a move down the inside. For a moment, I was questioning how that would work, but it appears as though it's actually not done him any favors because he goes side by side, Hunter Page down the backstretch. It's a boat, but let me tell you, it's more of a hydro thunderboat than your average fishing boat, and that's for damn sure. And oh, Hasser, I think Hasser's going to go for a move. He is late braking Hunter Page. Skids across the apex. Oh, my goodness.
That was one of those yes, no moments right there.
lucky to not really collect anybody. Not like it was going to happen, but, you know, racing works in strange ways. Only 6 positions lost, though, for the Canadian.
And no collateral damage. I'll take that as a win every time.
Absolutely.
Oh, while you've got them on screen, I have to note, I'm pretty sure the car number for Tchaikovsky is a math joke. If I'm not mistaken, their car number is Pi.
Oh, and the team is Pi Guys.
So
look
yeah.
At that. See, there's more creativity than just the livery. Some people just look at
mathematicians.
Numbers. See, I'm not a mathematician. I'm a communications major. I'm trying to do everything but math, and that's how I do it. And speaking of mathematicians, we got Hunter Page trying to fix the equation and the strategy. He's going to go into the pits early here to get that first stop done. You can see the orange bars there right next to the car numbers with the little white number inside of them. That is how many mandatory stops these guys have left to do. Once those are cleared, it'll go green. Of course, if you don't get your pit stops done by the pit window closing, we're going to slap you with a pretty sizable penalty. I don't think we've ever had that. Not that I can remember. Everyone's really good about making sure they get their pit stops done.
That's a mistake hopefully you only ever make once, if at all.
I never made it.
One thing... No, I've never made it on a stream that anybody can prove. But I did want to just, maybe this is me bringing up something I brought up before, but without the BOP, there is, let's be fair, a stratification to the cars right now on this track. We've got 2 Lamborghinis up front. There's a Porsche of epic talent, if we are to take the rest of the standings as sort of an example. But there's a little mix at the top, but then we've got the bunch of Ferraris, then almost all the McLarens, then almost all the Porsches. So it is, without the BOP in place, it is clear, I think.
Yeah, some of these cars over the many different versions have been tweaked in ways to bring them back into the pack or give them a little bit of a boost. I know one person who's very happy with this lack of BOP is Kenneth Portis. I mean, I remember there was a time where you couldn't go into any lobby without half the people there rocking a Honda. If they weren't driving Porsche, they were driving Honda, and I will admit I was one of them. I play to win, and as long as it's within the confines of the rules, then I'm going to do it. I don't care. And if a rule doesn't exist, then maybe they should make it exist after I'm done with it. But anyways, yeah, it is a very good split. You see a lot more, I'd say, diversity up there at this point. But I'm sure at some stage of this season will be kind of getting back to what may be considered normal as we join Freitas here, a familiar manufacturer in this part of the race, and that is going to be the Ferrari sitting behind Landry. So I don't know how much history these guys have together, but Landry and Freitas both learning and both trying to put out all the skill they can without causing any sort of collisions, and it is Landry who is making the most of it.
That whole group at the front, we can see them all here on one straightaway. I mean, they're not nose to tail to nose to tail to nose to tail, but it's still fairly close, 12 minutes in. But again, they're just, everybody's racing somebody. Even our front runner is only, and you know, compared to previous years, only 1.6 seconds ahead. 12 minutes in, quite often by this point, you'll see the front runner is gone. So it's excellent to see that everybody's still in the race at this point.
Yep, and one Lamborghini who's not as fortunate is Jonathan Clifford, another driver we see a lot of here in North America, probably streaming right now. You should go check him out, honestly. He's very talented at what he does, very skilled driver, and he's been proving it every single season he's been in the OOR, it feels like. Right now at Aragusto, started first, now is in third. Does have the fastest lap, though, with a 2:05.01. As he gets a little bit of a slide there for a second. I got a little bit worried, and he's been fighting that car for the last couple of corners. It feels like something's just not cooperating, and he's losing these fractions of time.
I wonder if any or even most of these drivers are still coming to grips with the changes, because there were changes, power changes, and some other things. So I'm hearing some of the cars, the handling changed quite considerably. So if the Porsche suddenly got looser in the last day, that would not be helping any of those drivers.
No, definitely not. And the McLaren also, I feel like one you really need to make sure is up to date, because this thing can and will kill you if you look at a corner wrong. Definitely not. Yeah, that groan told me everything.
It's so fast and so much fun to drive, but yeah, if you blink at the wrong spot, you're done.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like buying it off in CS:GO but no body armor. Like you're a glass cannon effectively, or I'm trying to think. I can't really think of anything else right now that isn't strictly a racing game. But anyways, we do have our first penalty of season 16. That's going to be Shirley picking up a drive-through for track limits. So that's going to have to get served in the next few laps, or else I believe it's an automatic disqualification. Actually, yeah, it would be, because that's about how half of every single open lobby goes, at least in my experience.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I bet if we'd have done an over-under on 10 minutes at the start, people would have said that we would have had our first drive-through in less than 10 minutes. But 15 minutes in on this track, with all the side-by-side through the S's, that's not bad.
No, it's really good. And speaking of side-by-side, Brian Rasco, in the meantime, going side-by-side with fellow McLaren driver Bandera. So that's up into position number 12 for him. Bandera's back to 13th, just behind us Wilson and Fernandez. So, and ahead is Hasser, breaking up the McLaren party. If he can get around Sanchez, then we'll have Macca's all the way from 11 to 15, and I'm sure they'd all be more than thrilled to be right next to each other. Both Haxel brothers going into the pit lane, so perhaps just taking a moment to run into the other's room, call them a flurry of names, and then run back out, as Charlie is doing just now.
I can't imagine racing with family, because you'd have to go and look at them after you were done, and I've had nights where I probably wouldn't want to do that. So, but good for them. The family that drives together fights together, I'm sure. But never mind. We should probably talk about the racing.
I was gonna say, I was like, I mean, my brother and I played racing games, and he always beat me. And then I showed him Trackmania, and I was like, he's like, I'm gonna be good at this. I'm gonna be better than you. I'm like, no, like, you can be better at any other game. I don't care. I am not losing this one to you. And he's like, all right, fine. But no, you're right. I mean, a family that does race together usually does pretty well overall. I mean, friendly competition with your siblings is always good. And competition right now between Landry and Freitas, and I think just up ahead, side by side, is Augusto and Clifford. So we go down to the backstretch. The inside line, though, does belong to the Lamborghini, so he's probably just going to pin it right on the apex, and he's going to do just that, blocking off the Porsche and Augusto, temporarily in second, but right back to third.
Well, there's a lot of things people say about this track, but you can race here. You can pass here. Yes, you have to watch out for drive-throughs and cut track warnings and all that good stuff, but you can see it. Even if you don't put your door in somebody else's car, you can see it. There's lots of places to race here.
Yep, Sanchez, maybe a bit unintentional. Oh, and almost losing the back end again. He's going to try to fire it down the inside. He does. The number 9 of Larry Lanham goes back to 10th. A little bit of return to serve there from a couple corners ago. But Sanchez takes over P9. Larry Lanham has to settle for 10th right now, but I don't think he's going to let that slide for too long, because he is going to want this position back as soon as he can. Augusto's in the pit lane. Martinez is in the pit lane. I think we had a couple others off camera while we were looking at other parts of the racetrack. Oh, and there's Freitas, the inside. Landry. Ooh, that was close.
Ooh. Yeah, going out onto those sideways sausages is taking your life in your own hands. Luckily, they did get back on the track. But we are 42-42 left. We are getting into that equal split zone for as far as tires go. So I'm not surprised to see people pitting now. This sort of makes sense. Now is where we get to see if those people that pitted early and got a bit of open track, if they were actually faster than the ones that stayed in the train.
Ooh, that's a good point. And we do have another penalty. Haxel, a stop-go 30. That is going to be for speeding in the pit lane. So that is going to be, it'll be served, of course, but the thing is, you can't say, oh, well, I've got to stop go 30, I might as well just go in and pit for tires and then go from there. No, that's not going to clear it. You have to serve the stop go 30, and then you can also do a pit stop afterwards, but you cannot do them together. So Charlie is going to have an extra pit stop before the end of the race. Augusto has picked up track limits too many times. That gives him a drive-through. He just came out of the pits too, so cold tires?
That's yeah, and just a section of track. I mean, it is so simple to get an off track. Although 3 in 20 minutes, that might be one of those moments where you sort of give your head a shake and go, wait a minute, this is a 60-minute race. I do not want to have 3 drive-throughs tonight.
No, definitely not.
But we were talking about the SG30 because of the way this game works with putting tires on and tires being mandatory and that taking 30 seconds. An SG30, stop and go 30 in this game for this league is exactly 1 pit stop penalty. It's the period of time you would sit still if you were in there for a pit stop plus going in and going out. So it's called a stop go 30, but it's really a 1 full pit stop penalty.
Yep, so that can definitely shake up strategies, and more strategies being shaken up as Hernandez picks up a drive-through. I gotta say, some of these corners, it seems a little unfair how easily you can actually just go off. I mean, you see it in, pretty much any racing league ever. You have guys really just cutting these corners as much as they can, and it feels like sometimes you cut a corner and you don't get the strike, but sometimes you maybe move it over a little bit and you still get it, but I don't know.
The best description I heard of COTA is that the track limits are designed with F1 cars in mind. They go out of bounds in different places. They can't go some of the places these bigger, floatier cars can. So, plus, these are big, heavy GT3 cars. It's not as easy to get them millimeter perfect. And the speed through the S's and that constantly reducing radius corners through the S's, it just tempts you to go too fast, and then it tempts you to go too fast a little bit more and a little bit more. So it's a track, some would say built to generate stop-go 30s. But it's part of the track, and everybody knows it when they start racing here.
Yeah, it is. I was waiting for you to continue on with your point about track limits, because I've watched some NASCAR races there. Track limits are suggestions. They're just telling you, like, hey, here's where the track is, just so you know. Yeah. Because you got guys going wide just all over the place. Granted, obviously your standard NASCAR has, I think if my calculations are correct, about 0 downforce compared to I would say anything else. I think a Formula V has a little bit more. A little more downforce than that. As we check in with Lanham getting a little bit of elbows out there, and he is going to take over 6th position. And that is, I believe, not Dave Hasser. That was Frizza, who was knocked just aside. He actually lost 2 positions, so he's starting to feel it a little bit. Clifford's in the pit lane, Landry's in, Portis is in. That leaves this man right here, Mateus Freitas, out there, currently leading the race.
And sometimes you just stay out just for that moment in the sun, all by yourself, and you get to look over at the timing tower and see 2nd place. I was in 2nd place at one point tonight. And then you pull in and come out in 23rd, and reality strikes, and everybody goes home.
Yep. No,
I was going to say, if you've got... This is where the sponsorship deals are like, no, I have to stay out so I get some TV time. Speaking of NASCAR.
Yeah.
But you're talking about NASCAR and track limits, and I can't help but say it. They're just happy if you get back on the track at some point. You can go pretty much wherever you want from what I've seen with them on the road courses.
Oh, and speaking of going wherever you want, we got cars all over the place. We had the Aston Martin there of, I believe that's Haller or Graves going wide there. It was Hunter Page who was all over the place. We had Bandera going side by side with the Porsche. That was just a blue flag as, well, Hunter Page with Sundorf going into this later section of the circuit. The Bentley trying to do a little bit of an over-under, and he makes contact. They both spin out, and how did that not result in a spin?
That I would love to see that from the in-car of the car that made the contact, because that must have been the most instantaneous slide correction in the history of the universe. Yeah, like you said, I can't believe that they didn't get spun too.
Who was that? Haxel? I think that was Haxel.
Looks like Tchaikovsky was part of this.
Yeah, that was Haxel. That was a little too far back. God, that sucks. That was really close. I mean, he made contact, and the fact that the 63 didn't immediately go into a spin is surprising.
Yeah, I was boggled as well. And I was just about to say it, and I'll still say it. This has been a fairly clean race. There's been a little banging door to door, which is, quote unquote, okay. There's been very little sort of I spun you. There's been a lot of I tapped you. So for first race of the season, so far, I'm really happy that my prediction is actually playing out. They're being good.
Yeah, we haven't had any, we'll say, certain vehicles on track. Actually, no. If we had Mullock here, then we would get those, because he seems, I don't know what it is, every single time that man is a safety car magnet. I mean, there are plenty of examples from past sprint seasons. I think maybe a couple enduros where he's been, calling the race start, and we get turn 1 and things die. Or if anybody remembers a certain Kyalami race that happened, that was a mess of a start. But yeah, no, Kevin, your prediction of a relatively clean race has been correct. We've had some, like you said, door to door, bumping and grinding. That's fine. Nobody's really gone anywhere too, we'll say, adventurous.
No, not at all. And yet they're racing hard. They're racing close. I think a lot of that is this community, though. A lot of these racers have raced season after season after season after season together. They know what to expect when they put pressure on each other. They know who's strong where. And the huge part is that word I used a couple seconds ago. They have the respect for each other. So when it's given that choice of tapping the brake and not going under their rear bumper and sending them off into the dirt for your advantage, that's the choice they make, because they respect each other, and it leads to better driving and safer driving all around.
Yeah, and speaking of familiarity, Keogh and Landry, two very well-seasoned competitors together. Keogh was getting really close there with the Aston Martin, but it looks like a little bit of that turbo lag coming into play here. So we head down the backstretch. Landry parked right behind the Brazilian of Freitas. He's getting closer. He's going to look to the inside. Roughly similar on the brakes as we head through the corner. Keeps it pinned to the apex. Gets a little bit of a lub tap. Not quite the bump drafting that this circuit might see sometimes. And it actually, Keogh 3 wide for a moment there. Somehow not making that much contact. Blue flags being navigated right now. And the 24, or sorry, is that, no, that's Keo, or Portis, excuse me, the 84 of Portis, rather, is getting into this battle, still side by side, though, with Keo, who right now tries to stick to the inside as we head into the penultimate corner. And then it's going to be another left-hander. He does have advantage, and that does give Freitas a little bit of a spook, and he is going to run wide. And now, still side by side across the line to start yet another lap here at the Circuit of the Americas. It is the Aston Martin getting a little bit of a better exit, though, and he's going to carry that up the hill as best he can. You do see Landry looking for a way into the picture here as we head into turn number 1. It's another tap there. More contact from all of these drivers. Portis now in the mix. It is a 4 group as we head towards the S's under the banner here at COTA. For these 4, and everybody's going to be adjusting their lines slightly to avoid contact. It's the right, then the left, another right that just seems to go on forever. The double apex. Portis starting to fall off this train a little bit, and it is going to be Landry just being tacked under the wing of the Ferrari, and Portis trying to use all of the Honda's old glory to get up into this, and Keo still having to defend. This is great racing.
Oh, this is spectacular. They looked up and saw they were almost halfway through and decided that it's all on the table now. Just as I said, they were driving nice. They're still driving nice, but they're pushing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. There's been a fair amount of traded paints. Numbers have been exchanged. Insurance claims may or may not have been filed, but it is on for the next 32 minutes. And we've still got at least 1 pit stop from everybody. I don't think anybody still owes us 2, right?
No, I think everybody has cleared it, and these guys especially. So here's the question. It's good. It's actually you brought up pit stops. If you're in a battle pack like this, are you gonna make the first move? Because right now they're basically having, a game of chicken. Who goes into the pit lane first? Who decides that they're gonna hop onto a fresh set of Pirellis? Do you make the first move? Do you wait for someone else to do it, or do you just mirror your opponents?
Oh, the timing on this, because of the tire wear on this track, you can come in now and get out on open space and just start turning wonderful laps, but by the end of that, sector, you're going to be finished, and they'll be closing on you by a second a lap because your rear tires are absolutely shot. On the other hand, you stay out here behind them and behind them and behind them and lose who knows how much a lap. And then if you don't overtake them in the pits, then you're still stuck behind them on the tires that are only as fresh as as theirs are. So it's almost a damned if you do, damned if you don't moment here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, this is a current battle for P3. I wonder if that's going to stay the same when the checkered flag falls. But, oh God, I don't know. I would not be surprised if we saw everybody of this group go in at the same time. If Keo decides it's time to go, it would not surprise me if Freitas, Landry, and Portis all said, well, I guess I should go in now.
Yeah, if your tires are shot, you've got to cover them. You can't let them get too many laps on those fresh tires, because if you come out behind them, it doesn't matter how fresh yours are. Yes, you can race here, but you're going to burn them off getting by.
Yep, and many of the circuits we have on the calendar this season, they all have different bits of tire wear. Of course, COTA is going to be one of probably the bigger ones, I think, this season. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle against the self, against the car, against the tires, against everybody else, and of course track and potential weather conditions. I mean, right now it's absolutely perfect. But maybe we see a little bit of weather later on in the season.
Well, yes, I'm sure we will, and I look forward to it a lot. My favorite race in the mini season that we did before the new year was the pouring rain one. I had so much fun driving. It was like driving on ice. It was such a joy. You couldn't see anything. It was like completely different racing. So I had a lot of fun with that, although it was exhausting to do it. But for this track and this tire wear, just one more comment on it. I'm sure we'll talk about it more. But The part of it is the surface, but part of it is the speed of these corners. Even in the GT3 cars, especially the S's, you load up a tire a lot for a long time and then only unload it briefly while you're on the other side, and then you load it up again. So going through the section that they're going through right now, the tires never get a rest. And it just chews them up, and the harder you try and drive, the more you slide and the more it chews them up. So it's it's an endless loop with these GT3 cars, but it really shows on these high-speed tracks. I think Silverstone is another one where it has a similar effect.
Yeah, I was actually about to say that, because I know when I raced at Silverstone in the Sprint Series, the one season I did before I decided I wanted to go in the booth, that was, I mean, we had discussions, not only just driver to driver, but even within the team. This is back when we actually had teams. We discussed, tire wear and how to deal with it, because COTA takes a lot of inspiration from Silverstone. I mean, come on, the S's. It's literally maggots and beckets, just a little bit more turning. But yeah, this is it's not surprising that a circuit designed such as this does have such an effect on tire wear. And the thing I find with the topic of tire wear is actually learning how to handle it, because it's not really something you can say, all right, well, if you do this for this many days, you'll figure it out. It's not like learning a track where it's like, okay, if I do an hour of practice a day for the next 7 days, I'll be able to do this time or whatever. You can tell people, hey, here's how tire wear works, here's what you got to look out for, but it's a trial by fire type of deal. You don't really get the experience of figuring out a track's tire wear pattern until you actually race on it. So for some of these drivers, you hope that they've been doing their homework. For others, well, maybe they've been sitting in study hall for the entirety of the off season.
I think some of them are learning on the job tonight too, but this fight is just great. I believe we just saw Ben Keogh say, "Okay, go."
I think, going onto the front straight. Maybe he recognized a faster driver and said, "Hey, they pulled away from Landry and Portis pretty well up until rather recently, of course. So maybe Keogh's hoping that he can use the fast-running Ferrari to his advantage, but it doesn't look like it, because Landry is catching up and Freitas is getting away."
Oh, yes. Yeah, Landry and Portis behind are smelling blood in the water. He slowed down. Get him.
Listen, everybody does that. I do that in an open lobby. I'm like, oh, you're slow? All right.
Oh, yeah. I saw you wiggle on that last corner. You're done. Oh, yeah. It's all part of the game.
You wiggle on the next corner. You're like, all right, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. But up at the front, again, smooth, fast, all night long. A little bit of tappy-tappy, but some great racing. I've been part of, I haven't been part of OOR for, ages and ages, but I've been part of it long enough now to see the improvement in just the general level of driving. Even our AMs tonight have, for the most part, and most of tonight, done really well. It's stressful out there. I can tell you it is. It's really tough, especially when these guys start blowing past you and putting you a lap down, and you're trying. All you can think is, don't wreck their race, don't wreck their race, and so you end up parked in the grandstand because you tried not to wreck their race. But it's it's terrifying sometimes when you're first starting. So shout out to all the new folks. We didn't. They ended up in the Sprint Series this year. Anybody that wanted to race is in the Sprint Series. So good on them for saying yes to that and taking up that challenge.
Yeah, it's a world of difference going from rookies to sprint or even enduro. If you're looking, of course, to get into these series, you do have to go through our rookie program before you can actually get sorted out to race. I would say, and I'm not alone in saying this, but rookie races are cleaner than sprint, because you have a lot of, and I'm going to say this next part, and I don't mean this as a way to put drivers down, but you have a lot of inexperience. You have a lot of people who are relatively new. They're trying to get better, so they are very, very cautious. And then once they get to sprint, they're just like, well, I'm with the big boys now. Time to send it. But no, I mean, it's a big step up going from rookies to sprint, as we have the number 6 there. Oh boy, that's Eaton. Parking in not the best spot, and that's something else we get to deal with. Kevin, you're talking about having to see these guys blow by you, but what happens when you sort of get thrust into the weird position and now you're part of the action?
Oh, getting lapped is a skill. I will never stop saying that. Some of these guys at the front haven't had to do it in a while unless they're doing multi-class racing. But if you want to get better at it, that is a great way to get good at getting past, is do multi-class racing and play the slower class, drive the slower class car. Not only is the racing more fun, you will learn to get passed by people that are dramatically faster than you. And every time it happens, it's less and less terrifying, and you're more and more likely to stay on the track. So yeah, it's there's free advice from a guy way at the back of the pack.
I was about to say, I'm just like, oh, you're faster than me? Okay. I was getting really sorry. I didn't mean to hold you up. That's my apologies, sir. And speaking of getting past right now, Sanchez, a little bit of a tap there, actually, onto Bandera as we head into the end of the back straight. I don't think either of them had any problems. No, I think Bandera just got a little bit offline there. There was like a little bit of gain and then a little bit of gain, and then all of a sudden Sanchez, just all of it was right there. It was lucky to not spin him out. That was that's getting past with not being blue flagged.
Yeah, that McLaren can do that, though. It has a time and place where it is willing to accept the power, and if you try 1 meter before that, it's just going to dance. It's very easy to get it wrong in that car, but boy, when you get it right, it's so much fun watching the cars in front of you get bigger and bigger as you catch them up.
Oh, yeah, it's a great feeling. I feel like it's one of the best cars for it. I mean, every car, of course, can benefit from someone having a bad corner, but the McLaren especially, when she's not trying to, prematurely end your trial of life. She is giving you a lot to work with, but it's so hard to control sometimes because it feels like it is just extremely sensitive to the smallest changes, and especially at a circuit like COTA where we have the dreaded sausage curbs, which I also hate in any form of racing. They just seem more dangerous. Oh boy, that was almost a bit dangerous. But no, it's just it's a hard car to really work with. It's mid-engine, so you would think, it's got something to make things a bit easier. But nah, she does not want to help you out.
Just watching this little bit here, the rear tires on both of those McLarens have cried enough. They are, if we were to see the in-car on those, I will guarantee those steering wheels are just bouncing left and right on every corner.
You're probably right.
It's sweating time now. Although we are this is pit stop 2 time, right? This is
yes, it
20
is.
minutes to go. There goes somebody diving in as if to make my point for me.
Yep, Freitas.
But it is time.
So
now this one,
this is the
undercut. This is where the undercut might work, because there's only, by the time they get out, sort of 19 and a half minutes left. You could probably go full hard all the way to the end without completely destroying a tire set.
I was thinking, because you said it earlier, Kevin, doing the 2020 might help you out. Unlike the year, it should be a pretty good thing for this race. Landry, Portis, and Keogh have all stayed out, so we'll see what their response is. They all could go in, they all could stay out even to get another lap. You can see some of the sliding, you can see the marks being left as these guys come out of corners, and you can see some of the ones from drivers previous. These Pirellis are probably going to be looking to take a break as we just dip under 20 minutes here to go at COTA. And we do have a yellow flag out, the number 70. That is Jacob Haller, who is having some unfortunate happenings, but has gotten back out in a positive direction. Carpenter's out of the pits right now. Darren Wicks has come in, the 329 of Sundorf, parking up right behind. And again, apologies for the lack of livery. It's not my fault. It's Livery Sing's fault. And I did update it. And I'm saying this because I feel like Glenn's going to, like, if I didn't, he would DM me, be like, did you try updating it? I'm like, yes, I did.
I'm just going to say that they're going so fast they blew the liveries off. They were there at the start. I saw them.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. My apologies. I didn't see it. Speaking of speed right now, Augusto in the slipstream down the inside of Frizza. Heavy braking here. Does he get the job done? I'm not certain. No, it's still side by side as we head under the massive spectator tower, as I call it. I don't know if it has an official name yet, but it doesn't matter. Still looks to the inside. He could have maybe gone for it. I think he tried to go for it again a little bit late. But no.
Oh, now who pits? Who pits here and who doesn't?
I completely was on the wrong corner. I was a corner or two ahead. I thought that was on me. Oopsies daisies. It's going pit lane though, Kevin. We've got Love Rank, we've got Clifford, Keel, Portis. Okay, so Landry stayed out. Okay. Landry, he is really gonna try. He is gonna push this lap, I think. He's around Darren Wicks. That's an excellent time to get around a back marker just before the S's. So he is really gonna go for this. He could make this work, but it's not gonna be easy.
Yeah, right. At that point, your decision's made for you. All of these people went in before you, so now your only shot is run everything that's left on these tires, change as late as you can, and get out there on the fresh stuff and hope you don't lose too much.
Oh, this is big Frizza. Or not Frizza. Portis getting out before Keo, despite, I think, coming in a little bit later. I didn't quite see it, but he is gonna be just ahead of the Aston Martin. That's big for him. Keo's gonna have to play catch up. Freitas right now has gone through turn number 1. I want to see Landry. He is currently not at the pit just yet. He does have one of the Porsches to get around, and also I think it's. So,
that's got to be screaming at you now.
Oh no, that's close.
Especially after that, you're get in. Your car is telling you they're done.
It's like back markers.
I get you had to get around that Porsche and everything, but wow, yeah.
Austin Shirley's in the pit lane. Stapleton's in. Fernandez is getting out of the pit lane. Sanchez getting that last step stopped on. Darren Wicks, we saw him in the pit lane not too long ago. And Landry does come in. So we need to look at the track map here. Obviously, Augusto's going to take the lead back. So that may all work out. There's Wilson. We have Hasser, Lovering, Clifford, Bandera, Freitas. The 88, you can see him, of course, the red dot. And then you can see the 710 triangle coming up to his pit box and stopping. Has this worked? That's the big question. If I had a second PC, I'd have both. I go to that screen of 2 cameras, but I don't because I'm not spending $3,000. But if Freitas is not able to benefit, oh no, Augusto's come in. Augusto still had a pit stop to do. I completely missed that, and he's actually missed his pit box entirely, I think.
Oh no!
Be careful about backing up.
Ways.
Oh
that's
my
too
god!
Far.
Oh god! I hate watching people back up in pit lane. I know they're not going to hit anything, but it's still like that's a quick penalty. And okay,
there's a DQ waiting for you right there. Yeah,
a little bit further. Okay, Landry is out of the pit lane. Freitas, I think he's got him. Yeah, he's got him. Freitas, I think, is going to take the lead of this race. Or no, he isn't, because
Loverink is
Clifford.
Loverink didn't just stay up at the front. They opened quite a gap. They were pretty much nose to tail when they went in, and now it's almost.
Oh, look at this! Look at this! It's Keo, Landry, and Portis.
Yep.
They're back together. You can't separate them. No matter what you do, it's a trade of 3. Landry finds himself at the front. It is going to be Portis' passenger car, and Keo the caboose here, heading through the S's. So Freitas got out of that one beautifully, and these guys are all back together. Look at Keo in the rear view, is right up. Probably just gave him a little kiss there, just say, hey, how you doing? Good to see you again. This is, oh man, these guys really, it seems like no matter the strategy, they were destined to be together here towards the end of this race.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can take your hand off the mouse. We can just leave this here for the next 14 and a half minutes because they're just getting started.
I know, but this down in the back here, Austin Shirley trying to go around the outside of Stapleton. And it is, a little bit of contact there between the two and Stapleton. Oh, I thought he just went off. He didn't. He saved it somehow. Not going to be pleased. Tries to go back down the inside to redress that position with the McLaren looking one way, looking the other, late on the brakes, down the inside, more contact. They both slide, and I don't know how that's going to go down between them. That looked a little bit questionable.
That did look something like an aerial assault. I don't want to say the words dive bomb, but that was pretty close. I get it. You see, especially on that corner, because it looks so open on the way in. There's just no way to exit. There's only one way out of that corner. And diving up the inside like that is great, but there was no way they were ever going to get slowed down enough to get turned.
No way that was going to work. You're 100% right. In the meantime, we had Portis get bested by Keo. We had Lanham picking up a position over the 921 there of Hasser in Kevin's favorite livery of all time. Couldn't tell you why.
Lanham is currently being chased by nudes. That's all I'm going to say.
And it looks like Sanchez is trying to get some of those nudes. He's gunning for it.
Yes, that livery is an announcer's best friend, but we've made our little joke. We should probably move on now. But it is a great livery.
It is. Dan Fernandez with Hunter Page here. This is the battle for position 17, just up ahead Darren Wick. So Darren's trying to stay out of this as best he can, but if he does not get his ducks in a row, he may find himself being, unfortunately, a part of this battle. The trio getting around, Stapleton just behind there, Shirley, and Hernandez running in position 21. A pretty good gap down to Battle, who, although is a little ways back, is in striking distance should things change. We're going to hop here with the Canadian in the boat right now, heading up the front stretch. Fernandez with the slipstream. Page trying to pick a line, and we'll just go back to the racing line as we get into that heavy braking zone at the top of that hill. Runs it a little bit wide, and at the same time Fernandez goes a little bit narrow, so that kind of just negates all of that. Is not going to matter, and we have another little battle here. Wilson and Frizza heading down the back straight together, and right now Frizza is losing out. The 91 of Wilson on the inside.
Oh, that golf livery. That golf livery looks good. Oh, just
it's looking so good. It distracted Frizza, and he's gonna lose that position.
Just let him through for sheer cool points. I get it. But 11 and a half minutes left. It's been a long time. I'm sure these guys are racing in other leagues, but for some folks, it's going to have been a while since they raced sort of under pressure. And getting to that sort of mistake part of the race now, where you start getting tired and maybe the sweat starts getting in your eyes, and you start thinking maybe I could get a top 10, and then you don't, and all those things. This last 10 minutes, there's still a lot left to watch, including this right here.
Yep, side by side, Sanchez was just pipping the back there of Augusto, your pole sitter, down in 14th position. Sanchez diving on the inside, it opened right up. There was nothing that Porsche could do. So McLaren getting another benefit. Some blue flags coming out. That is one of the back markers, I believe. That's not or is in the pit lane. That might be Eaton. That is Eaton, and he's currently being eaten alive right now as these front runners have to get through. So, bit of contact. Sanchez, that's gonna mess him up. But does that give Augusto a chance? Side by side again. Heading into the S's, these guys just keep each other company. They can't be separated. And, Augusto slips ahead, has to go wide. Despite some of these errors, great racing from these two.
Yeah, Augusto has really got my attention. They are amazingly quick. I mean, they've got the purple lap of the race, and they're a little wild, and it's so much fun to watch. As long as they're not wrecking people, it's a lot of fun to watch. But it's one of those ones where you can't help thinking a coach might say to them, try 99.9%. You'll be faster.
Only 100. Only 100.
Yeah, only 100. Just stop at the 100. Yeah, they are trying, and they're so quick, and they're trying so hard. But because of that, trying so hard, you're seeing some wobbles from time to time. But purple laps, you're not gonna. I don't see anybody taking it away from them with this length of time to go into the race. So is that Ben?
That's Kia. Yeah, he picked up a drive through.
Oh no.
So he's 6th position right now. Austin Carpenter's coming through. He's going to grab that. Andrew Wilson might. So this might not be the worst case scenario for Keo. I mean, this is actually a deceptively long pit lane. There's Carpenter. Wilson. Okay, Wilson will grab this. Frizza. Okay, Frizza might. Might. It might be going into turn 1. We'll see. But the Keo's out. So we'll look out the back. There's the Golf of Wilson.
Oh boy.
It's only 1 position lost for Keo.
Wow. And because it is just a drive-through, it's not going to affect tire pressures or temperatures much at all. So they should be able to be full power right away.
That's insane. I for sure thought that was going to be more. And Ord picks up a drive-through as well right here towards the end of the session. So some of these drivers getting a little bit fatigued maybe. This is, Kevin, you said it earlier about some drivers maybe not either A, being used to these longer formats, or B, just being out of it so long that you tend to get a little bit fatigued quicker because you're getting back into it. It's like, maybe you have an injury and you can't walk for 6 weeks. When you try to go back to the gym, it's going to be really difficult. So, despite how clean these cars are, it's the drivers that are looking a little bit rust covered.
Yeah, it shows. It's also it's an interesting thing with motorsport because you head into that, like I said, you're getting tired, your hands aren't doing what you're telling them to do anymore, maybe a little bit, but at the same time you're pushing. I can see this guy. I got 1 more position in me. I got it. We got 4 laps. I got 4 chances at this corner to get this guy. So you're pushing yourself harder than you have all night, and you're in the worst state you've been all night. So you're bound, I think, to see more mistakes, and that's where the great drivers and the aliens separate themselves, is they don't make those mistakes.
Absolutely, and it's just, you see the time tick down, you're getting impatient, you're like, all right, come on, let's get this race over and done with, I want to go to bed. Definitely not me right now.
Or I've been faster than you for 20 minutes, for God's sakes, would you make a mistake?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's actually a really good thing to talk about, because you have drivers who are very, very quick and they're stuck behind someone, and it is beneficial to just let that guy through, and you can follow him as best you can, per se. But
or something like we're seeing here, this challenge with lapping somebody, because it's they're not they're not doing anything wrong, they're getting out of the way, they should be giving up the entry here, but it's all part of the race. This happens. There may be things may happen after the race. Penalties may be applied, but it's something that happens, and you have to deal with it again at that frazzled end of the race thing.
Oh God! In the meantime, you were talking, I was fully expecting 3 wide in a turn 1. Sanchez had a chance to do something really funny and decided not to. So I kind of respect him for having the ability to just be like, all right, maybe I shouldn't do this, but at the same time, so photo op, but that's just me. But he hasn't been deterred too much. He lost a bit of time and then came back, so he'll be along the outside here. He's going to try a little bit of an over-under, try to get a straighter exit out of the corner, and I think he has.
Yeah, I think Dave outbraked himself a little bit there. And I will tell you from a lot of experience, Dave Hassor is a tremendous amount of fun to race against, because you can trust him 100%. He is never going to do something that's, I'm not going to say he never makes mistakes, but he will never do something intentional or based on anger. You can safely race with him. And I should probably stop talking now, because
Kevin!
Yeah. I did. Look what I did.
Actually, you know what?
Oops.
I didn't get the first caster curse of the season. High five me. Good job. You didn't do it this time. Usually, I'm the one that
Of all the
pulls
people.
It. I know you've been
Of
gone
all the
for
people
so
to do
long.
it to.
Yeah, and to do it to Dave and Eduardo. Come on, man. It was good racing.
No nudes
though.
for me. That's
no, definitely not.
No nudes for me. Definitely not. No, I ruined that. Oh well.
Oh goodness, but no, I mean I've raced against Dave before. Well, I shouldn't say raced against. I've backmarkered for him. But everything you said about him up until that moment, being a clean, very predictable driver, it's incredible what he's able to do in pretty much any situation. It's almost like he can read the minds of other people, but sometimes the connection gets a little bit muddied, as we saw there.
I find him a lot of fun to race with because I find him all but unflappable.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I like doing is getting behind somebody and just being just a little too close, just a little too close, and let them make the mistake, and then I go by, and that just doesn't work on him. So I spent whole races waiting for him to make a mistake. Apparently, I should have waited until this race, but oops.
Let me ask you a question.
We are getting towards the end of it.
When you're talking about trying to mess someone up and trying to get make him into force him into a mistake, are you the youngest of kids, or where are you at?
I'm actually the oldest of two.
So there's your problem. See, if you were the younger sibling, what you could do is you could channel that annoyance you used as a smaller version of yourself. As the youngest of three, can't confirm I did do that a lot. You can use that to force people into mistakes.
Yeah, I figured out quite quickly I was never going to be the fastest guy. So my goal has always been to be consistent, and it doesn't win you races, but it gets you, consistent results in the top 5, top 10. I will take all day long.
Yep.
Rather than first DNF, DNF first. No, that's not how I race.
It's too much effort. Speaking of results right now, 2.5 to go. Augusto, the inside of Lanham, one way, and I think he really scoped it out for a second there. He thought about it, but realized the potential danger of doing so. He has been trying to get around Lanham, and just up ahead is one of the Aston Martins. I believe that is either Graves or Hall as we head by. That's number 7. That is Andrew Graves. So he was playing a little bit of cork in the bottle here for these two. Into turn 1, Lanham loses the back end. Thankfully, gets the horse back under control and carries on as we head down into turns 2, 3, 4, and so on. But a minute and a half, just a little bit more to go. And we have got quite a gap at the front there. As you can see, Lovering 7.5 seconds ahead of Clifford.
Since that pit stop there, that was an absolutely game-changing moment in this. Lovering came out 4.5 seconds up and just hasn't looked back. We've got a fairly large gap back to third as well. So the podium, barring mistakes, the podium is looking pretty much written. But we've still got lots of racing here left to go, including this.
I don't think that's or behind. That's not position. That's just outbreaking.
Yes,
yourself.
but then you do this. Then you do this, and all of a sudden it's oops, another blue flag that you just passed. I hate passing the same person under a blue flag 2 or 3 times because that means I made a mistake.
Yep. No, I'm right there with you. It's kind of annoying. Augusto here on the inside got the move done before the corner, so that'll be position 11 for the number 27. And he's just going to have to hold it for, I think, an extra lap because by the time Lovering gets back to the start-finish line, this race is going to be over, so he's got to hold on for one more lap, and it's one of those things you say, okay, well, I could do that, but then you actually get put in the situation, you go, oh, never mind, no, this is anything but.
Well, he's riding a horse, so I can say Larry's got the bit between his teeth right now. Nobody likes to give up a position on the last lap of the race.
No, definitely
That's
not.
one that'll just give you an upset stomach for a week.
And this is another such case. This is the battle for 9th. Frizza and Rasco heading over the start-finish line as we go up the hill. Rasco not going to go to the inside, going to try to keep the same line. Oh, Frizza got a little loose.
That Ferrari, it's got let's just say it works well at extreme slip angles. It is always wiggling its backside towards the end of these races, but it never seems to slow down in the process. This is a great race here. This is nose to tail on the last lap. I mean, this is what you hope for. It doesn't matter what position you're racing for at this point. For those two cars, this is it.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, getting into the final corner in a field of legends and lemmings, it is going to be Loverink that comes out on top in the season opener of the Simrigs Sprint Series Season 16. And it's the 52 who gets it done. And of course, the 999, the fellow Lamborghini of Jonathan Clifford, making it onto the podium. And debutant Mateus Freitas, from Brazil, number 88 in the Ferrari. He's going to get it done. Third position, Michael Landry. His pit strategy played out beautifully at the end there, and he would only do better if he didn't have to pit, but unfortunately 2 mandatory stops is going to do just that. He is 4th, and right behind him, Kenneth Porteous 5th. Man, when was the last time I said that? It has been ages. Austin Carpenter is 6th, and we've got some time. Ben Keogh is going to be 7th, but man, what a race.
And our Pro-Ams all bunched together there. Again, Lanham and Hasser coming in towards the end here. That's still not resolved. That's our lead for Pro-Am. And our amateur leader, Bandera, is only, 13, 14 seconds ahead of our second place Am.
There's Keogh crossing the line there. That's 7th. 8th for Wilson. Frizza, Rasco, I think he tried a last-ditch effort there, but he's going to get top 10. That's still good for him. There's Augusto. Not the best start, but he is going to come home in 11th. There's Lanham in 12th. Dave Hasser will be sitting pretty in 13th position. Eduardo Sanchez is going to be 15th. And then, as Kevin mentioned, Bandera for the amateurs will take first in that classification. Darren Wicks is just getting to that final corner now. He'll be 16th, and just behind, a commendable effort, of course, Hunter Page will be 17th position. Dan Fernandez will be 18th, and then Shirley Stapleton, Hernandez battle, Eaton or Martinez, Haskell, Ryan Haskell, Andrew Graves, Charlie Haskell, and then Jacob Haller. It looks like Charlie is in the pits. Eaton, I believe, picked up... Oh, no, Rasco picked up a penalty at the end. He had a drive-through. I noticed it. So that is going to be plus 30 seconds. So where is that? That's 10th for overall, because he was 8th, as it says. So he's back.
That's put them... My quick math, that's put them into 16th.
You're really good at math. You know that?
There's a piece of paper somewhere that says so, actually. But
oh, I thought you were just doing that in your head. I'm like, damn, you're smart.
Oh, I did.
Oh,
I did.
okay.
I mean, there's a document somewhere that somebody signed that said I studied some of it. So it was a long time ago, and I forget most of it. But anyway, that was amazing. I want to do one real quick shout out though, Darren Wicks. After the short season and the off season, which wasn't televised, we threatened to move him to pro because he dominated the Pro-Am so hard. And in response, and to keep himself, in my opinion, to keep himself from being promoted, he's chosen to drive the Audi.
Wow, dude. Jeez.
I don't have to race against him this year. He beat me hard last year. I couldn't even get close. So I was waiting for that for the whole off season.
Jesus.
But what a first race of this season. Thank you for coming back. It's always a good time announcing with you. And great racing from these guys. Again, we've got 6 more races this season. And yeah, I'm looking forward to all of them.
Well, it's always good to be back, I must say. It's a pleasure being back in the booth, of course, here in the OLR, and I'm glad they haven't got rid of me yet. But we're going to take one quick look at your race results. So it's Loverink overall ahead of Clifford, Freitas, Landry, Portis, your top 5, Carpenter, Keogh, Wilson, Frizza, and Augusto is 10th. It was Rasco going down to 15th, so your math was a little bit off, Kevin, but that's okay. And then we had Eaton going down to 23rd. After penalties applied. In the Pro-Am category, Lanham takes home bragging rights ahead of Hasser, Wicks, Shirley, Battle, and Graves. For the amateurs, Bandera, Page, Fernandez, Stapleton, Hernandez, Martinez, Ryan Haskell, Charlie Haskell, Haller, Chevkovsky, who unfortunately didn't make it to the flag, and Sundorf getting disqualified from the session. And then the Sobers, the guys who have yet to get a rating, Freitas, Friza, Augusto, Sanchez, Eaton, and Orr. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for us tonight. We'll be back next week, of course, with more OOR action, and if memory serves, well, it's going to be none other than Silverstone. So it's basically the alpha version of this circuit. But before we go, of course, one quick final shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 16 of the Sprint Series. We talked about them at the beginning of the broadcast out of Melbourne, Australia, servicing all of Australia and New Zealand, no problems there. But they got wheels, pedals, bases, accessories, frames, seats, anything you can think to put in a sim race rig, they're going to have it for you. And if you happen to be like myself or Kevin or anybody here that isn't from the Australia, New Zealand side of the world, if you send them an email, they'd be more than happy to get some business going with you. And of course, our wonderful Patreon members are going to be getting a 5% off code. Excuse me, I think they changed that from last season. So apologies in advance for saying 10 instead of 5. But yes, you do get a little bit of a discount, so do take advantage of that. But thank you again to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. But that is it. Kevin, any final closing thoughts before we head on out?
I have very rarely looked forward to a race as much as I'm looking to the next one. So we'll see how that.
Well, it's gonna be exciting season. I must say, I'm ready to see what happens. But like I said, Silverstone next week, and that should be the same format. Of course, if there are any changes to the VOP, we will be letting you guys know at that point. But of course, on behalf of myself, Kevin, and everybody here at the OOR, I'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. As always, folks, stay safe, stay beautiful. We'll see you next time.